someone says something like, hey, let's play in the key of F, or let's play in the key of G, they're just talking about a major key, also known as a tonality, or a scale, or a note inventory, or a note family. These are all the exact same thing. All it means is that there's some repeating pattern of 7 notes. Pretty much every song is played within some group of 7 notes, some note family. So you can play any song in any of these keys. So, for example, if we have Mary Had a Little Lamb, you can play that in a cluster of notes that has only white notes. Or you can play that in a cluster of notes that only has black notes. It's still going to sound like Mary Had a Little Lamb. Or you can play it in a cluster that has a mix of black and white notes. So this is what is meant by a key or a tonality or a scale, all that stuff, meaning the same exact thing. So I want to show you how to build these major scales. There's going to be 12 of them, one built on each of the 12 notes that then repeats later on. So these 2 notes are the same. Hopefully that looks right to you. You can tell that like both of these, they sound similar, and they're also both underneath a group of 2 black notes. So there's only 12 keys total, 12 notes, and so there's a scale that's built on each one of those. Now, there are other questions that you'll have, like why would you just use 7 notes? Why not use more than 7 notes in a note family? Or how do you know what key to play in? Or what about the other scales? Or how do I change keys? All of those are probably topics for other videos. Today we're just talking about how to build a major scale. So what you're going to do is you're going to take any note. Let's take this one, for example, and you're going to go up 2 half steps, also known as a whole step. So that just means go to the next closest note, sometimes the black note, sometimes the white note. So that one and that would be 2 half steps up. So if this is the first note of the note family, the scale, the key, the tonality, then that would be the next one. So it's root of the scale, and then you go up a whole step. And then you're going to go up a whole step after that again. And then you're going to go up a half step. That's just the next note over. I know it's going from a white note to a white note, but that's just the next note over. So that's a 1 half step. And then you go another whole step after that. Then another whole step after that. Then another whole step after that. And then a half step. And that, if you do it all correctly, that last half step should take you back to the exact same note. And you can start this on any note. So that's what the scale, the tonality, the note family looks like if you start on C. It's just all white notes. That's why pianists like to play in the key of C, because you don't hit any wrong notes as long as you just stay on the white notes. But other keys, for example, the key of F, might start on an F. You'd need to be able to find that note, and then you'd go up from this here. We'd go up a root. That's our root. We'd go up a whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step, and if you do it correctly, you should end up back on F. So then at that point, you can just get familiar with the shapes of these things. So, for example, back to the key of C, we have, this is the key of C right here, and that's C, so you have to know what note that is, and then you, after you build your scale, you come up with all white notes. So this one's kind of boring because it's all white notes, but when I'm playing the key of C, I'm really seeing this as kind of the most important note. This is 1, and then we've got, just before 1 and just after 1. We've got 2 before 1. So these are all the other notes in the scale are related to the 1. And so how far away they are in which direction. But that's the key of C. There's not really much geography to it. It's just that straight line, just from C up to C. But, for example, the key of D flat, now we're getting crazy. This would be a D flat, and so we would take, from there, we'd go up a whole step. That's our root. Whole step, half step, whole step, whole step, whole step, half step. This is the key of D flat. And so this shape is way different than the shape that we had for C, because C was just that straight line, and now this thing throughout the piano is this repeating like squiggly mark that starts on D, has this little dip right here, goes back up to the black notes, has a little dip, and then repeats back over. And then you want to be able to eventually see that over the entire piano. So you see all the D flats, and then in your mind, you can just overlay that picture there and see that all of these notes are the correct ones. It's the correct pattern. So each key has its own pattern. Eventually you want to learn the geography of this, the hills and the valleys and stuff. And take into consideration which note is number 1, which one is the root of the key, because that's going to be the most important, and all the rest of the notes are just either a note away from it, like the 2, or the 7th note. Here's a tricky one. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. The 7 is 6 notes away from the 1, or it's just 1 away from the 1. So in my mind, the 7 is really just 1 below the 1. But that might be a little bit advanced for this lesson. Like I said, there are 12 major keys. They each have their own shapes. Hopefully you've got a chart that has all of those on there. If not, then contact us at learnpianolive.com, and we will be able to get that over to you. And couple different ways to picture this. We've got the illustration like that, where you're seeing the keys that are all highlighted, or the one that I like is just these squiggly lines right there. And just by looking at the squiggly lines, I could tell you what key it is. That's the key of B right there, which looks like that right there. 1. Because that's the shape of B. It's like a lopsided M in my mind. But my mind is sometimes a little bit weird. Anyway, that's major keys, tonalities, scales. You can do it. Root, whole, whole, half. Whole, 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 half. That's every major scale from here until forever. Good luck. Have fun.